I have a second channel, Cube Compium TDX. Everybody, for the longest time when you think of bloated, super slow Windows, you would think Windows Vista. Windows Vista has been that operating system that people would normally think of as super slow and just, horrible. But I must say, newer builds of Windows these days, like the later builds of Windows 10 and Windows 11, they're much, much, much worse. Now, I must say that it would be kind of expected for a computer that runs Windows Vista okay to run Windows 11 on the slow side, but when Windows 10 came out, Windows 10 was actually pretty snappy, and I'm going to probably cover that in a later video. I do have videos up on the channel covering Windows 10 builds over the years, how performance has taken a hit, but I'll probably do a video in the future on this netbook here. But today we're going to be doing a little something different. We're going to be comparing two operating systems performance-wise. We're going to compare Windows Vista against Windows 11. So, I have Windows Vista 64-bit loaded on this USB stick, and we're going to go ahead and install that on here. I must say, the USB ports on netbooks are always nice and tight because, well, these netbooks, they hardly ever get used because they're so slow. Anyways, let's go ahead and start this up and begin installation. Okay, let's go ahead and select our flash drive. And get Windows Vista installed. Okay, here we are in setup, and one thing I do want to mention is that this netbook has the Intel Atom N450 CPU, has the Intel chipset graphics. It has 2 gigs of DDR2 memory, and we actually have a 64 gigabyte SATA solid state drive installed. I did eliminate the hard drive from this one for this purpose, just for testing. So let's go ahead and run through our Windows Vista setup utility. Definitely brings back memories. So for this video, we're going to be using Windows Vista Home Premium and Windows 11 Home. And one thing that Vista and Windows 11 have in common is they both prompt you for a product key at the beginning of installation. Alright, so we're going to select Home Premium. Check this box here. Accept the license terms. We'll need to delete this partition and start from scratch with a fresh partition. The fun thing about Windows Vista is the installer does not create a system reserved partition normally in Windows 7, and later you will get the little pop-up there saying that Windows will create additional partitions, but it does not for Vista. There is no recovery partition in Vista. Generally, when things wreck up and you need to rescue your system, a lot of times you have to pop in the installer to get into recovery options, whereas in Windows 7 they're kind of baked right into the system reserve partition. So we'll let this install. Okay, so it's going to run through out of box setup. So Windows Vista is very focused on customization right out of the box. The first things that it asks you are like, you know, what do you want your desktop background to be? What do you want your account icon to be? Stuff like that. And I've always really liked this background right here. And it asks you important questions like your computer name and what time zone are you in. Unlike Windows 10, Windows 11, which I'm more worried about. Like your advertising ID, your Cortana settings, all that mess. One thing I don't like about Vista though is the setup wastes time doing useless things like running a Windows Experience Index scan and stuff like that, when in many cases your computer is missing drivers, which would affect the results of the performance check. Windows 7 does a similar thing too out of the box, and it's just not much a fan of it. But here you can see it scrolling through all the wonderful new features of Windows Vista. Kind of like how Windows XP did during setup, where it would show you all the new features of this new shiny operating system. Okay, so one thing we'll need to take care of is installing drivers, and I'm also going to go ahead and install Service Pack 2. Once I have those items installed, I will do a speed test run showing how fast it boots up. And we'll check our standing memory usage and things like that. So I'll go ahead and put up the CPU and RAM meter. So we're using just a little less than 30% of our memory just sitting idle right now with not much going on. So again, got to install some drivers, and once I'm done with that, we'll continue where we left off. Okay everybody, so I have Service Pack 2 installed as well as drivers. So what we're going to do now is we're going to time this thing starting up. So I get my stopwatch pulled up here. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to time it from the time that it starts to boot into Windows. So that's about 33 seconds to the desktop. And you can see that our sitting RAM usage right now is about 48 to 50%. So we'll take a brief look here. In the system properties, you can see Service Pack 2, Windows Vista Home Premium, and looks like our activation is about to expire. I had to put this off to the side for a little bit because, well, I had several projects going on here at home and ended up getting sick for a little while, and so I'm just now resuming this thing. Our RAM usage has come down a little bit to now it looks like 38%. So I guess I can say the good thing about things getting a little bit delayed is the fact that I now have Windows 11 22H2 ready to install. So now let's go ahead and install Windows 11, and we'll actually do a clean install. We'll just go ahead and boot into the installer. Why not? And I should mention this installer has the TPM checks bypassed, the CPU checks bypassed, all that good stuff. Bypasses the need for the Microsoft account and internet connection for setup, and matter of fact, it may actually bypass completely the out-of-box experience. We shall see. We will probably have to create an account, all that good stuff, so it'd be interesting to see how this works, to do a clean install. The last time I used this new installation media was to do an upgrade install of an existing Windows 11 system. So let's go ahead and do a restart here and attempt to get into the boot menu. Not sure which key it is. And it's so quick. Okay. I'm going to select our USB drive. And we'll let this go into setup here. Okay, now I'll go ahead and begin installation. So this is my first time ever installing Windows 11 22H2 from the bootable installer, and it does appear they've changed the look of things a little bit here. You can see we currently have a black background. Still got the classic Windows 95 to Windows XP era mouse cursor there. I'm going to choose I don't have a product key. We're going to select Windows 11 Pro. Accept the license terms. Choose custom. Okay. We need to go and get rid of these partitions. Hit new. Hit apply. And good. We're going to get the little pop-up telling us that's going to create additional partitions. This is actually pretty important that it creates the system reserve partition. Okay, and then we'll click next and we'll let this run and do its thing. Okay, so finally we are in setup. I'm going to select I don't have internet here. Something went wrong. Alright, let's hit skip here. Okay. That something went wrong could have been partially because of how Rufus sets everything up. We can see half the next button is cropped off. Probably due to the horribly low resolution this is running at right now. I'm highly doubtful that there are graphics drivers installed. It's probably using the basic display adapter driver. See if we can go kill OneDrive setup before it launches. That would be one less thing. One less thing for this thing to have to do. Now what gets me is we got the older style task manager, which is really odd. You can see that CPU is pegged at 100%. It's doing some stuff in the background. RAM usage isn't super bad right now, but boy, that CPU is getting hit hard. That little Intel Atom N450 processor. Alright, so we'll let this do its thing. Get to the desktop eventually. Oh, it's doing something. Oh, there's a background. We're still waiting on the taskbar. Typical Windows 11. It's the last thing it loads. I was highly certain that when we went to install Windows 11 on this thing, it'd be like watching paint dry. I mean, it was last time when I was working with 21H2. Okay guys, we are finally at the desktop. That just about took long enough. I mean, it took a long time. So let's go into Device Manager real quick, and I'm pretty sure we are missing drivers for the graphics. So what I'll end up doing is I'll end up hooking this to the internet and letting it do its thing. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're missing the driver outright, looks like. Yep, okay, there we are. Basic display adapter. So yeah, we're missing the correct driver. That'll have to download off the internet. Oh, and this is interesting. So apparently fresh out of the box, do not disturb is turned on for notifications. That's actually pretty good, I think. So we're gonna let this thing do its thing, fetch drivers, all that good stuff, and we'll come back here in a little bit. Maybe tomorrow if it takes long enough. Because it just might take all night to get this done. And then, you know, once it gets all that done, then we'll have ourselves a little tour and try not to fall asleep doing it. Okay, so I'm resuming this video quite a bit later than when I started it. I started it, I believe, back in October of 2022, and here it is, January 2023, and here we are resuming it. So I just did, in the previous clips, a test of Windows Vista Service Pack 2 64-bit on this machine, showing the startup speed, showing the RAM usage, all that good stuff. Well, now I have Windows 11 installed on here, and it's actually Windows 11 22H2. So we're running the newer build of Windows 11 on this thing, and let me tell you, it is very slow. So I've got my phone here as a stopwatch. I'm not sure if this time was from the previous part of the video, if it was from something else, but I'm going to reset this back to 0. And let's give this thing a go and see how long it takes to get from the bootloader to the desktop with the taskbar. Okay. So we're actually getting into Windows rather quickly, but don't let the fast startup fool you. I should mention, yes, this is with fast startup. Okay, so roughly, it was the startup sound. So roughly a minute and 30 seconds to get from the boot up to the desktop with taskbar. So yeah, definitely on the slow side, for sure. And just a reminder, guys, this is with the solid state drive. Just to show you the specs here. Intel Atom N450, 1.66 GHz CPU, 2 GB of memory. So even if the Windows 11 system requirements were not elite class by not requiring the TPM 2.0 and the 8th Gen Intel Core CPUs, this machine still will not meet the minimum requirements because, well, 2 gigs of RAM. So you best bet this thing's going to be like a snail. So yeah. The resolution on this machine, I think it was 1024 by 600. I mean, I can go confirm that. Yep, 1024 by 600. Yeah, the resolution on these things were just not great. Just never did load Task Manager, did it? See when we get Task Manager come up. That way we can see how much memory is getting used. And you can see Task Manager takes up the whole screen, and of course that CPU is pegged out 9900%. So here we are setting in Windows. Granted, I did open settings for a moment, but we're using 71% of the installed memory, 72% of the installed memory, just sitting here, not doing much of anything. Well, not including everything that's running in the background, which, you know, in Windows 11 there's going to be a good bit of stuff running in the background. And look how much Task Manager itself is using up on this thing. And you can see Microsoft Edge is running updates in the background, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Using up the very limited resources this little machine has. So Windows Vista was regarded as the resource hog, but nowadays Windows Vista would be like running Windows 98 on a newer PC. I mean, think about it, running Windows 98 on a system that was designed to run Windows Vista or Windows 7. This is kind of like a similar deal. I mean, this computer here is so limited in capabilities, but it can actually run Windows Vista Service Pack 2 pretty well and run Windows 7 really well. Again, despite its really limited resources, but when you load on Windows 11 or Windows 10, yeah, it's going to be like watching paint dry. Okay, so memory usage did fall down to 53%. So it's just doing stuff in the background. So yeah, lots of stuff going on. Of course, you can see that CPU just pegged down 100%. Go over here to performance and we can have a look at that. Oh yeah, it's like a solid graph of blue. And you can see memory usage is ticking back up. And of course that SSD, it's like, what am I doing here? Ain't got much to do. I mean, look at it. 2%, 3%, 1%, hardly having to do much of anything. I did a video a while back, and I'll put it up here in the corner. It was me running an SSD in a netbook, and it was running Windows 10, and it was a similar deal. The computer was so overwhelmed by the bloat of Windows 10 that the SSD didn't really matter because the CPU was the bottleneck. Normally it's the other way around. Normally your hard disk drive is your bottleneck, but on these netbooks, they're so horrendously slow that even an SSD would not really be much of a benefit to one of these, except for, of course, the benefits of it being a solid state drive and not a physical, mechanical disk. SSDs are, of course, nicer in regards for anything that gets toted around and moved around and stuff like that. But yeah, comes to show. I mean, just look at the resources being eat up by Windows 11 on this old netbook. I mean, it's crazy. When it takes even a little bit for settings to come up, yeah, when it takes a while for settings to load, that comes to tell you something. Turn off some things. Just doing some random stuff while we're in here. I mean, I'm not keeping this installed on here. It's gonna get wiped anyway, because obviously this computer cannot run Windows 11 well. Left align that taskbar, why not? I mean, this thing it's just a crawl. Put our little green, our little blue box there to admire this thing constantly being used up. So here we are playing around with the personalization settings just a little bit. See how long it takes for it to update the colors. You can see even simple things like that take forever on this thing. I mean, look at that. Look at that little blue box. That CPU getting eat up by resources. Now I don't have Chrome loaded on here, but we do have Edge. So we're going to launch Edge. See how long it takes to launch Edge with the CPU being already used up. And for some reason it has not changed the color of the taskbar to dark yet. Sometimes you have to turn off transparency effects because they don't get along with certain drivers. Apparently that wasn't it though. Oh, there it went. Yeah guys, this is like watching paint dry. Wait, did it just completely disable? It just disabled transparency effects, apparently, what it appears. Well, I don't know. Okay, let's turn them back on and see what happens. Okay, that's the Edge is coming up, supposedly. This is so freaking slow. It's so bad. 80% memory usage. 3% disk usage. It's probably due to virtual RAM. I love it. They want you to import your data from Google Chrome. So one of the things I like about Chrome is you don't have to go through all this crap just to start browsing the web. It just Chrome comes up and it's as simple as that. And of course, these netbooks, they were known for being internet browsing machines, but you can see internet browsing on something like this in today's age is at least on a new OS, a new Windows OS, not quite so great. Oh yeah, the page is not responding, which of course Edge is basically Chrome at its core. It's based off of Chromium. And of course, why not? Let's go to YouTube. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up here in a moment, but yeah, let's see how long it takes for it to get to YouTube. Is it still loading the Welcome to Edge page? Not sure what it's doing. Okay, it's going to YouTube now apparently. And you can see again that nice blue filled graph there. And of course the ports on the left side of the machine are getting pretty hot. That's what these things do when they're just being constantly ran wide open like this, is they get They turn into lap heaters. They make really good lap heaters. If you're trying to warm your lap up, just get you one of these netbooks and put Windows 11 on it. That will definitely make a great lap heater. My older netbook with the Atom N450 does even better in this. Does even better as a lap warmer. Yeah, guys, look at that CPU, just wide open, constantly wide open. Still loading YouTube. Page isn't responding. Yeah, guys, this is just so freaking crazy. Now, in a future video, I do plan to try out some Linux distributions on this thing, like Zorn and maybe a couple others, like maybe Linux Mint, just to show how much better they would run on something like this. We'll keep the SSD in there, and we'll try some Linux builds. To see if maybe we can make something like this somewhat useful. Okay, so it apparently seemed like YouTube was loading. Apparently it's now trying to change over, yep, to dark mode. Oh. Yeah, we're finally getting somewhere. To be honest, guys, I'm not going to even bother trying to play a video on this. It's just too slow. And of course, got to have that little message saying, watch YouTube videos on Chrome. Yeah, even the scrolling is delayed on this thing. It's so bad. I mean, I guess if you're used to watching a computer with dial-up internet access load web pages, you'd probably be okay with this, but the vast majority of us, this would drive us nuts. You know, I said I wasn't gonna try a video, but let's just try a video. What the heck? See if I can even play a video. It's gonna load an ad first. I'm not sure what resolution it's going to load in, but okay, it's actually starting to play a little something. Okay, we're 2 seconds in. Edge is freezing up. I think we kind of get the idea. It's pretty much terrible terrible experience. So I think we're going to go and end this one. So yeah, that is a comparison between Windows Vista Service Pack 2 64-bit and Windows 11 22H2. Obviously, we knew that Windows 11 would run pretty bad on this thing, but the question was just how bad would it run compared to Windows Vista. And we'll speed things right on up here. There we go. Because I'm going to end up wiping this soon anyway and trying out some Linux stuff and some future videos on this thing. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Well everybody, that wraps it up for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to CubeComputer channel, and be sure to tick the bell, that way you get notified of new video posts. Also, I recommend following CubeComputer Company on Facebook. A link is in the video description. In addition to computer tech videos, I have a second channel, CubeComp MTDX. Links are available at the end of this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching and your support.